Hello and welcome once again to Xenia Tech. In my previous tutorial, I took you through the basics of that. Today we are going to look at loops and lists. Okay, it's going to be interesting because we'll be coding a lot today. Fine. So when you hear loops or list, what comes to your mind? Fine. Let's look at list first. List in other languages is known as arrays. Okay, so that is one of the most common collection types used in programming. So you would hear arrays anywhere you go. I mean, in any programming language you are endeavoring in. Okay, so over here we call it list. Fine, it can allow you to take a list or a collection of items. It could be numbers, it could be text, it could be a combination of numbers and text. Okay, so it makes you hold up a unified, okay, a unified collection of objects. All right. Okay, so we can actually use list to do a lot of things because the class provides us the ability to actually manipulate a lot. Now let's look at loops. Loops in programming is just a way for you to repeat a code number of times. Okay, so for instance, you are trying to populate a list and then you would have been running it or you would have been writing a lot of code for that, multiple codes. Now with the loops, you just have to write your loop statement, and then with a specified condition you pass in your block of code, and your block of code is going to be what you want to be done repeatedly. Now the loop will take control of what looping through, that's repeating the code for you. Good. Well, let's see how it actually works in the practical sense. Okay, so follow me up. All right, so we are here in our that part again. I made mention of showing you how to set up the SDK on your local machine to use with Visual Studio Code. Actually, I have my setup here, and as you can see, this is the Dart code, and I can run it on my local machine. I would dedicate the next tutorial, a part of the next tutorial, to show you how to actually set it up. But if you are a smart learner, there's no cause for alarm. Going to the website of that, you'll be able to download the SDK, and it's very simple to install it. Well, you can also just click on the install SDK app here in the Dart pad, and then it is going to take you to the website of Dart. Okay, so when you are here, you just have to download the SDK as zip file, and then you select your operating system when it pops up. So I wouldn't go deep there, but I would dedicate portion of my next tutorial to show you how to actually do that setup, so that if you are not comfortable using the online Dart pad, you can actually use the Visual Studio Code on your local machine with the SDK setup. Good. So let's start with the fixed is list. So we declare a list. So this is how we declare a new list. Okay, so you can say list, a new list, and then you call the class, that's the list class. So this means you have instantiated or you have initialized a class with a size of 4. That means it's going to be a fixed size of only 4 elements. Okay, so this is how we now add elements to that array. So new list and then the index, and then at that index you now pass in the data. Okay, so new list at index equal to the data. So I'm going to add 4 items or elements into the new list we created. array 2, we pass in the data of 2000, and we add our third element, sorry, fourth, 3000, and then we print it out. So let's see what we get. So we have 200,000, 2000, and 3000. Okay, so that's a fixed size list. Now let's see about the growable list. Yeah, so it is either growable or non-fixed size list. Okay, so whichever way you call it, it's just the size can be expanded. Okay, that's what it means. So we can use the var as I explained in my previous tutorial. The var can be used to declare any identifier to hold any data in it. Okay, so we are going to use it to declare a new list. So we have new list, and then let's add data into the list. So we are using the add property of the new list class. Okay, so the new list class has a number of properties or functions. So we are using the add. So we add our second element, world, hello world. So the two makes hello world. We have hello and then we have world. So our third element is I am a DATS developer. So let's print that out and see. So in our console, we should have all the items we added. So we have hello world, I am that developer. Okay, yes. So let's add another element and see how it will print out, whether is actually going to add it or not. So we print out after we have added a new element. So and some text. So I just have to add more, so some more and some more text. So let's print that out. Oops. Okay, so we have plus the array plus the new element we added, which is and some more text. Okay, which is printed out on our console. Okay, so we have just increased the size of it. That's why they are called growable list. So let's declare the second phase. So you can declare growable list in number of forms. There's another form, and with this one we are not going to say new, we are going to just pass the data directly to the new list. So I have this a mixture of strings and numbers. So we have 23 as a number and the rest are strings. Let's add okay, I have not taken you through maps, but let's add a map. So let's print that out. So and see. So new list, and then let's run this. So we have 123. I am also a list, and then we have the map added. Okay, so list can actually allow you to hold a lot of data, so we are adding another element to it to see what we will get. So now if we print it out, we should have the list plus the new element we created. That's the finally added to the array. So we have the old list, okay, plus the final showing, okay. So we have just added another element to the array. That means we have extended that one out, okay. Yes, so there are a number of functions in an array, sorry, list, okay, in that is list. So there are a number of methods in list class that you can use to manipulate a lot of things in your array. So one of them is the add, okay. I keep saying array, sorry, it's list, okay. Yes, so let's see a number of them. So the first one I use is the add, okay, which is used to add a new element to the array. So let's look at remove. So we have the remove, we have remove add, and a number of them. There are a lot. So whilst you do your practice at your private times, you can try a number of them. You know, when you start typing list dot, or if you have instantiated any identifier, so the identifier dot, and you start typing, you see the list of methods you can use. So we have remove at, and you pass a parameter to it. The parameter is going to be the index at which you are going to remove from, okay. So I pass 1 to it. That means let's print it out and see. We are going to remove an element at index 1. So let's print that out. Okay, so now you realize that we have removed the element at index 1, okay. So the world in the first array printout is not there again in the second array printout, because we use the remove at index 1 method, and then that one has taken out the element at the index 1, okay. That is clear and pretty easy. It makes your life easy, especially when you want to do some of these manipulations, okay. So let's try another one. Let's try reversing it. So there's another method called reverse, okay. So the list dot reverse. So when you print it out, it's supposed to let your elements appear in the reverse order. So let's just comment this out so that we won't have a lot of print on the screen, okay. So when you print that out, you have what? So you can see that we have the last element as it shows in the first order appearing as the first element in the second order, that's in the reversed order, okay. I hope I'm making sense, because it's pretty straightforward. There are methods in the list class that you can use, okay. All right, so let's quickly look at the loops. I don't want this tutorials to be very long, it will be boring, okay. So I just want them to be as short as possible, so I'm squeezing up time. Let's use let's look at loops, okay. So we'll be looping through some arrays, and then we'll be manipulating some arrays, some lists using the loops. Sorry, don't mind my I'm calling array loops list, okay. I'm using them interchangeably, okay. Actually list and loops, list and arrays are used in different languages. So the array you see in JavaScript, in that it is list. So I'm just mixing them up, but sorry for that. So we are going to look at the for loop, okay. That's what we are going to look at first, the for loop. So this is how we declare a for loop, okay. We have var I equal to 0. That's we have declared the index, and then the condition follows up, which is I less than 10, and then the next thing is what? The increment, which is I plus plus. Now let's print out each of the index, okay. So at each loop, this is what you get. You get 0, 1, 2 up to 9. So it prints out at each increment. So the first time what happens is that it declares, and then it prints the element to be what? The index to be 0. Then it goes to increment it because the condition is still true, so it goes to increment it. And then when it increments, what would happen next is that it will loop again, it will print. So it will keep printing until the condition is not true, then it stops. Now let's declare a list, and then we would use the loop to populate the list. So we have a new list, but no element is added to it, so we use the loop to fill up the list. Okay, all right, so we'll just take that out, and then let's use the we are going to use the add method. Okay, so new list dot add. So we are going to add the index to the array. So at each point it's going to add the index. It will push the index to the array. Okay, so let's print it out. I'm just adding this comment so that it makes the code look readable. Okay, so it's better your code is readable. Okay, so we have a result. Okay, so when I print it out, you see that we have 0 to 9. That is what the index, it has added it to what the array. The angle bracket showing around it shows that it is a list. Okay, okay, so let's look at the other loops. Okay, we have the for in, we have the do while. So we are going to look at the for in, then the next will be the do while, and then the while loop. Okay, so with the for in loop, we use it to actually iterate. Okay, so iterate is just like going back and forth, like looping through. It's just the same word, like going through a certain collection. Okay, so in this case we already have a new list declared, so we are going to loop through it and then print out the element. Okay, and we are using the for in, so it's just like to say in each element. Okay, so each element inside the new list, or for each element inside the new loop list. Okay, do something. And what is it going to do? It is going to execute the code block we have, and the code block is print. Okay, it's printing out the index. So we have a resource here when we run the code. So we have printing out 0 up to 9. Okay, so let's move on. What about the other one? So the do while. Okay, so let's look at the do while first. Okay, just some comments. All right, so the do while, this is how it looks. We have the do and a block of code, and then the while condition will come. Okay, the while condition, anytime it gets satisfied, it will stop. Okay, but whilst it's not satisfied, it will keep running the code in the do block. Okay, so what we are going to do inside it is printing out the last index. So it will be the last index first. Okay, we want to keep printing the index, like printing at index, and then we'll print out the index in that order until we get to the end of it. Okay, and that's when the condition will be false. Sorry, the condition will be true. Okay, so what happens here is that after we print out, we would remove the last element. So this is another method which is inside um the list class. Okay, so remove last, so it will remove the last element in the list. So when it takes the last element in the list out, that means the list has reduced. In that order, it keeps reducing this. Else, if we don't reduce the list, we would not get to the situation where we have the length less than 0 or equal to 0, where it will trigger for a loop to stop. Okay, so if you print out, you have what? Uh, Printing at index 9, at index 8, in that order up to what? 0. Okay, so at that point, when it prints out the 0 and then it removes the last element again, the length would not even be up to what? 1. So when it checks, it will be what? Equal to 0. That's when it would force the loop to stop, or it will call the condition off and the loop will stop. So let's look at the while loop and then we'll wrap up. So the while also is simple. Okay, it works in this way. Okay, you have your condition and then your block of code. When the condition is met, so while the length of the list is still greater than 0, it will keep running the code in the block, okay, until it checks and then the length is equal to or greater than 0, or less than 0. Okay, so that one too, immediately we run the code, we have to remove the last element in order to make to meet the condition. Else we will have a loop that will run forever, it will never be met. Okay, so we have a small issue here. Okay, so the last index is having an issue. Uncut error, range error, index out of range. Yeah, index must not be negative. So let me see that. Okay, let me change instead of remove last, let me change it to remove at index. So I pass the index will be the last item, that's the last index in the list. Okay, that didn't solve it, so I change. Good, so I'm changing the new list length greater than 1. Thank you very much for your time. I would be ending my session here, and I would want to see you next time. So like, share, subscribe to my channel, and then let's all benefit from this. I'll be taking you through maps in my next tutorial. Thank you once again.